The northern part of the Dominion of Canada is largely a waste of Arctic and subarctic tundra. South of this are vast non-commercial bushlands. Next, a wide belt containing one of the world's greatest stands of commercial forests, extending entirely across Canada. In southern Canada are two regions of farming lands, one on the western plains and the other in the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Valley. The industrial provinces of Ontario and Quebec are a cross-section of all these regions. They are the heart of the Dominion. Permanent settlements in the region were first made by the French. Following Champlain's founding of Quebec in 1608, French traders began to exploit the vast fur resources. A religious colony founded Montreal in 1642. In 1763, the region was ceded to Britain, and there came a heavy immigration from Europe, mainly British subjects. This was augmented by loyalists from American colonies during the Revolutionary period. During the early 19th century, there was a slow growth as lumbering, farming, and mining developed, until there were 1 million inhabitants in 1840. Each symbol here represents 100,000. By 1871, there were nearly 3 million in the two provinces. Later, particularly since 1900, there has been a great expansion. Of today's 7 million people, more than a third are of French origin. The French Canadians live chiefly in the province of Quebec. Back and forth across the border between this region and the United States, there is a constant flow of people on business or visitors to adjacent points of interest. In summer, the Thousand Islands district of the St. Lawrence River and hundreds of Canadian lakes and streams draw hosts of vacationers for boating, fishing, and bathing. Vacationers also recapture the spirit of old France as they wander through quaint streets of Quebec City, or through French-Canadian farm villages along the lower St. Lawrence. The same deep snows and cold winds that make the region's winters severe attract thousands of devotees of winter sports to hill and mountainside in Ontario and Quebec. It was in the vast wilderness about the Great Lakes and Hudson Bay that early Indians sought pelts of beaver and other fur animals. This region is still one of the world's greatest reservoirs for wild fur-bearing animals, such as this beaver. And Montreal is a leading fur market. Canada's fine silver foxes, wolf, muskrat, mink, lynx, marten, ermine, and beaver are auctioned periodically to buyers from many fur manufacturing centers, principally London and New York. The fertile Great Lakes Plain and the St. Lawrence Valley constitute one of Canada's two leading agricultural subregions, with dairying and mixed farming districts similar to the neighboring farm and dairy belt in the northern United States. Ontario and Quebec, with well over half the total dairy production of the Dominion, produce the great bulk of the butter and nearly all the Canadian cheese, 130 million pounds in a good year. Wheat is raised for food, and oats, barley, corn, and hay to feed farm animals. The region's farmers are factory farmers, transforming their crops into meat and dairy products. These farms also produce over 1/2 of Canada's potatoes, nearly half the sugar beets, and several different varieties of tobacco for which suitable soil is found in certain sections bordering the Great Lakes. Canada's tobacco crop is now large enough to supply its entire domestic needs. Here also is the center for growing celery, tomatoes, and a variety of other vegetables and truck farm products. The fine orchards of this sub-region produce nearly a third of Canada's fruits, principally apples. The extensive forests of the region supply wood for lumber, trees felled in winter and run to mills when streams have thawed in spring. The forests also supply wood for another major industry, the making of pulp and paper. The log bolts are transported to the mills mainly by water. Here the bark is removed, the wood is chipped or crushed, mixed with chemicals, and finally emerges as pulp. Many mills further process the pulp into newsprint paper and a variety of other paper products, such as cellophane and wallboard. Canada produces more than 1/3 of the world's supply of newsprint paper, most of it coming from Quebec. In another leading industry, automobile manufacturing, Ontario stands alone among the provinces. Leading American auto manufacturers have branches here, not far from the great automobile manufacturing centers in the United States across the Detroit River. The opening of farmlands of Western Canada stimulated the manufacture of farm machinery, cream separators, binders, and other types of farm equipment. The balanced relation between agriculture and manufacture is further evident in food processing industries, notably meat slaughtering and packing. While processing much meat for home consumption, meat packers export millions of dollars worth of dressed meats, Canadian hams and bacon being in chief demand. Quebec's textile mills producing cottons, woolens, and silks, and the manufacture of men's and women's clothing give employment to more people than any other Canadian manufacturing industry. Although coal resources are at a great distance from the industrial centers, the prodigious manufacturing tasks of the cities of the provinces are carried on through the remarkable development of nearby water power, the harnessing of streams flowing down from the Laurentian Plateau. Principal water power projects are shown here. Waterfalls harnessed to great hydroelectric plants supply millions of horsepower of electricity daily, not only to points within the provinces, but to nearby industrial centers in the United States. Deep down in the ancient rock of the wilderness of Ontario and western Quebec, thousands of miners find employment bringing up the ores of gold, silver, nickel, and copper for refining. Several metals are usually present together in the ore rock. At the mines, these rocks are crushed and the ore is concentrated by complex processes. The metals are then smelted out and cooled as large plates, each of which contains several metals. These are shipped from the mines to large refineries, mostly near Montreal, where the metals are separated and further refined in smelting operations. These are ingots of pure gold that have just been molded and are being treated further. This truck is loaded with bricks of pure silver. Here copper is being poured into molds, and here are bars of copper ready to be sent to manufacturing plants where copper is used. Leading minerals of the region are gold, asbestos, silver, lead, zinc, copper, nickel, and platinum. From one district in northern Quebec comes most of the world's supply of asbestos. It lies in thin veins occurring in certain kinds of rock formations. The asbestos is always found in a pure state and needs only separation from the enclosing rock. It is mined in large open cut operations as well as through shafts cut deeply into the earth. After raw asbestos is separated from the rock, it emerges in many forms, such as brake lining, heat insulating sheets, and asbestos clothing for firefighters. The industrial sections of the provinces are served by a railway network supplemented by the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Waterway, by highways, and busy airlines overall. These avenues form the export routes for a great variety of products: gold, copper, nickel, and other non-ferrous metals, and asbestos products, lumber, paper, and pulp, meats and dairy products, autos and machinery, and ready-to-wear clothing. Because the industrial provinces export much, they can import much. Steel, iron plate, and machine tools from the United States, which also supply auto parts and farm machinery, coal and raw cotton, crude petroleum and gasoline. Sugar comes from the West Indies, tea and miscellaneous manufactures from England. The business centers of the industrial provinces are fine, modern cities such as Montreal in Quebec, Toronto in Ontario, Hamilton, Windsor, the auto center, Ottawa, the Dominion capital, and picturesque Quebec City. These cities also house many of Canada's leading institutions of higher learning: McGill University, the University of Toronto, Queen's University in Kingston, all of them training leaders in research and in the professions. It is from such institutions that leaders are coming who will steer the future course of the industrial provinces, the heart of the great Dominion of Canada.